Hello everybody, welcome along to the Weather Studio Live. It's the 6th of March and we are broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook from Met Office HQ. I'm Alex Deakin, it says it there.
And I'm Aidan McGibbon. Welcome along.
Welcome indeed. We'd love to hear from you. We want your questions about anything to do with the weather or climate. We'll be talking about the weekend weather, because we always do, and various other bits and bobs, won't we?
We sure will. Can't wait to get started.
Can't wait to get started. Room Miller is watching. Puffin Nest is watching. Gord1EB is watching. Gvens Channel 26 is watching. So hello if you are watching. If you're a first-time viewer, then we do this every Friday. Please put your comments, anything you like, in the chat. We'll be doing a quiz later. There is a kind of theme, loose theme to that, so we'll have more on that later. You can join in, let us know how you do. But yeah, any questions you've got about the weekend weather, about anything, whether that's happened, whether that's going to happen, you'll be talking about the weekend as well.
A couple of people commenting on the thumbnail of the live, wondering whose car got painted with Saharan dust and whether we were just rubbing some random person's car, etc. It was my car, so don't worry. We weren't covering someone else's car with dust, and that was Rich, our expert image editor. He managed to add the dust afterwards, so it was a lovely, clean car.
It's fake,
lovely,
fake
don't
news.
worry
It's
about that
fake
car.
News. Aidan's car is spotlessly clean. Wow, it's cleaner than that anyway.
Yeah.
That was always all a bit of fake news, a bit of AI, but yeah. Llewellyn Howells was born. Oh, sorry, Llewellyn Howells was born ready. So we asked who was ready, and yeah, it's good to hear that, so that's good. TP80910 says, hello from Leeds. Hello, TP, lots of numbers. Well, hello to you if you're watching in Yorkshire. Let us know where you're watching from as well on the chat, because we often get people watching from Germany or from South America, and yeah, we try and cover a bit of global weather as well in this. But yeah, who's watching from Rossshire? Mark Vogan.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Mark. Welcome along. How's spring is going so far? Any signs of the coming weeks? AKA my birthday. Gord1EB. Happy birthday for next week. It's my sister's birthday today. Happy birthday, Susie. Happy birthday. I give her a wave and say happy birthday happy birthday, sis. Yeah, it's her birthday today. So yeah, someone else's birthday next week, isn't it?
So I hear.
Yeah. Mr. McGibbon's birthday next week. So lots of the best people are born in the first 3 months of the year.
I'll be doing the deep dive on my birthday, of course. I wouldn't have it any other way.
I mean, I
didn't try to have it off. No.
You made me put that on the rotor, isn't it?
Someone else is golfing, but I'm doing the deep dive, so can't wait to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to Portugal tomorrow for a couple of days to play a bit of golf. So yeah, so you couldn't take your birthday off. Not that you're bitter or anything.
Room Miller, happy birthday for Wednesday, turning 50. You know, March is a popular time for birthdays.
Well, yes. Spring is in the air. Oh, someone's watching from Thailand. Dom Maish. So welcome if you're watching from Thailand. Yeah, keep those comments coming in. And what have you been up to this week?
Oh, bits and bobs. I've been, enjoying the more settled weather. That's been nice, first of all. I've been working on a black ice video, which is going out. In fact, we may be able to show you a preview in just a sec.
I think it's just a tease. I don't think there's actually any part of the thing.
And it's probably not ready, because there it is. Why black ice is dangerous.
You didn't see it coming. And again, that isn't you falling over, just in case there's any health and safety. That was generated by Rich. He's been busy this week, hasn't he, with his AI and his fake imagery. Good work, Rich, with that one. So that's coming out tomorrow. So another reason to subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed already, how many got a new 1,000 followers? Then we're up to 400,000.
400,001.
401,000.
400,001. No, 401,000.
Followers now. So another reason to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Be doing us a big favor. Hit the like button as well. Share the love. Let everyone know that we do this. You can watch us on YouTube every day of the week we're doing something different. So yeah, make sure you subscribe and don't miss a forecast. Hi, Alex Deakin watching from Redditch, Worcestershire. Sarah Marchant, hello Sarah. Hello from the Midlands, Eddie M. Shark, 26, sunny but windy Cornwall, Alexandra King. So yeah, thank you for all of those. G. Jevons, Channel 26, is there going to be a blood rain possible? No. In short, yes, dust is an issue, and we'll be talking about that later. But blood rain is something completely different. That's very rare. The amount of very dark red dust that there has to be in the atmosphere for it to rain out and look like it's actually raining blood, that's proper blood rain. We're not going to get that, but you might see some dusty conditions on cars. Haven't had much of it so far because there hasn't been much rain. So yeah, you need two things. You need the Saharan dust that we've got, which is already in the sky, which is potentially making the sunsets more orangey and more vivid. Seen some examples of that, but we haven't seen many examples of the dust getting onto the cars yet because it has been so very dry. Right, a couple of people asking about sudden stratospheric warming. So we had a question from my 10-day trend, I think it was earlier this week. What about the SSW? That was from XX Thomp XX. Good name. But other people are also asking about SSW. Nigel Clifford, and there was another question earlier as well. Polar vortex has reverse direction. Samuel asking that earlier as well. Polar vortex reverse direction. What could it mean for us in the UK? Well, it has, yeah. So we often talk about the polar vortex. It's a spinning donut high in the stratosphere above the poles. It's there every year. It sets up every kind of autumn. It runs through the winter, but it can break down. The winds can reverse, and that can lead to suddenly the stratosphere getting very warm. But for us down at the ground, a couple of weeks later, it can then lead to more blocking weather patterns. And sometimes that leads to an easterly wind, which can turn into the beast from the east.
But what's happened this week is that it split, hasn't it? And you've got these two vortices, one over Canada and one over Siberia, with higher pressure now over the North Pole. It takes some time for the downstream effects. It takes typically a couple of weeks or so. We'd say 10 to 20 days or so after it's happened before we have an impact at the surface, if an impact does happen at the surface. And what we tend to talk about is that it can weaken the jet stream, and that can then lead to predominance of higher pressure or blocked patterns. And it depends where that high pressure establishes itself in terms of the weather we experience. So like you say, it can lead to easterly winds. If that higher pressure is towards the north, you get the easterly wind. Equally, the high pressure could be slap bang over the UK, in which case, at this time of year, if you're looking, a couple of weeks ahead, that's getting towards the mid to late part of March, you can get some warm sunshine after that. So, yeah, what we are thinking is that in a couple of weeks or so, there's a greater chance, not a guarantee, a greater chance that we'll have more blocked weather patterns as a result. But where that block ends up, well, that's still to be determined.
Interesting as well, when you get these splits in the polar vortex, rather than it just kind of collapsing, and it means there's still a bit of a circulation of this. It just means the average winds have gone the other way, because it's an average over the whole area. So it's not quite the same as it just kind of breaking down completely, which it also very rarely does, but it does sometimes. And when you get these splitting ones, it tends to take longer for that process to filter down. So it's more likely to be 2 plus 3 weeks that we see any of the effects of this, if we see any at all. And another reason we're not getting particularly excited about it is because of the time of year. So even if we were to get an easterly mid to late March, it's not going to be anything like as cold as an easterly would be in January or February. So it's unlikely to generate vast amounts of snow, which it can do earlier in the winter, which is why people get excited about it earlier on. But
before we get to that, actually we're getting the opposite later next week with more of a strengthening of the jet stream for a time. I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment.
Just for a correction, I got a pronunciation wrong, so it's Jeevan Channel 26, so Jeevan's Channel 26 asked that question earlier, so corrected me on his pronunciation. Thank you for that, and thank you for your question. Thank you everyone for being there. Sarah Marchant, will we get any extreme heat weather warnings for Redditch, Worcestershire this summer like we had in 2022? Thanks for your question, Sarah. Too early to say anything about the summer, really. I mean, we do know there's a bit of an El Nino hint at that, which can impact our weather back end of summer, but yeah, we can't really say a great deal about the summer at this stage. Certainly wouldn't be pinpointing any particular heat waves. You're only going to get a few days notice for that, maybe a week at best. So we're a long way from getting any heat wave warnings. Liking the attire, gents, very smart. Thank you, Eddie Shark 26. Echo Sonic Music is hoping for some decent weather in North Cornwall next week. Looks a bit more changeable, doesn't it, next week? Yeah.
Changeable, but not entirely wet. Not as bad as it was for so long at the start of this year. So
Puffin Nest asking, is it stamps you have framed on the top shelf? Yes, there was an anniversary a couple of years ago, wasn't it? What was the anniversary for that? It must have been 470 years of the Met Office. Was that what they were for?
That's right,
in 2024. So yeah, there was a series of stamps that we've got up there, and various different imageries from satellites to radar. So yeah, there are stamps up there. Good spot. And that, of course, is the leaderboard of the quiz, which, I don't want to point it out, but you're kind of towards the bottom there, mate.
Well, to be fair, I've only had one opportunity this year so far. I've only been in that seat. No, this seat. Seat once this year.
So the quiz is coming up. You can jump up that leaderboard.
If I get 5 out of 5, which is possible, I'll still only be third. Okay.
Long way to go. It's a marathon, not a sprint. On our Instagram channel this week, on our broadcast channel there, we put out a request for some pictures, and we've had some of those in. So we've had some lovely images. Spring has sprung this week, almost certainly. Depending on where you are, different days have been sunny, and we've had some high temperatures this week as well. And there was also full moon. The worm moon. So big thanks to Pockets of Calm on Instagram for sending this image of the worm moon, which
does look worm-like.
Doesn't it just? And yeah, it's called the worm moon because this time of year earthworms are coming out. It's kind of spring has sprung, and we've seen some more images of that. Beautiful daffodil with a bee getting in there. So that's from At the Garden Table, aptly named. Thank you for that. And some lovely pictures of sunshine as well, other parts of the UK. Cavern Hikes sent that one. Nice bit of fluffy cumulus there. And I think we might have one more. So if you want to send us in, that's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't do that.
It's also a bit...
Well, I can for a second before...
Well, maybe that was just the second before that shot. Joe Johnson, 04. It's also a bit early for me to be getting in the sea on a paddleboard. Hopefully in a couple of months. The sea's, I mean, it's probably just on its... Well, it's probably at its nadir at the moment, isn't it? Or might just be on its way up. The sea's cold, man.
And your heated gloves aren't going to help you out there, are they?
They're not going to help me out
heated socks and everything else you wear cycling to work.
But thank you for those pictures. Do keep sending them in. I say go and follow us on Instagram. We're on there. We're across all the social media channels. You'll be doing a live on TikTok later this afternoon as well, won't you? So make sure you're following us right across that, and do get involved because we love to hear from you. Right. Claire Toomey Preston. Any point in washing my car today with the dust storm? And Charlotte Peckham, what's the weather like in Kent at the weekend?
Well, let's take a look.
Let's take a look at the weather through the weekend. Tigeress Elizabeth, is this the start of good weather for Northern Ireland as well? So yeah, lots to get through there.
Yeah, and it's a quietish weekend, I say, but not entirely dry or entirely sunny. And that's because it's a classic spring pattern with a weak jet stream near the UK. Here's the bigger picture. The jet stream is more active out to the west, but that's where it's staying for the time being. Across the UK, we've got these extensions of high pressure from the Azores and also this continental high. But in between, we're getting these weather fronts trapped. And so, yeah, it's not entirely sunny or entirely dry. Here's how it's looking UK-wise for the weekend. Now, at the moment, we do have this area of rain clearing to the southeast, well, sticking around across the southeast for the rest of the day. And to the north and west, the further you go, the drier and brighter it is. But that frontal zone will tend to stick around through the next 24 hours, and it's going to edge north westwards once again. So question there about Kent, is it going to be a fine weekend? Mostly dry, yes, but not entirely sunny. You can see the extent of cloud across much of England and Wales. For Saturday, this is lunchtime Saturday, much sunnier skies further north, northern England, Scotland, Northern Ireland at first, but there is an increase in the cloud because of this front, and you can see the jet stream starting to edge closer to the northwest. So yeah, there'll be a lot of cloud for southern and central parts of the UK, and through the day the potential for some rain to spread into parts of the Midlands, Wales, the southwest as well. Some light to moderate outbreaks of rain. But light winds, temperatures not as high as earlier in the week, closer to average 8 to 12 Celsius. Skip forward to Sunday, and here's the rain that I mentioned across central areas. Let's just rewind a few frames so you can see some showery outbreaks of rain moving through. By the time you get to Sunday, that's pushing more into northern England, southern Scotland, but Sunday for Scotland, Northern Ireland, generally cloudier skies and a lot of cloud across the UK. Perhaps something a little brighter towards the southeast. And the rain, where it does occur, isn't going to be particularly heavy. It's not going to be especially windy either, although the southerly breeze will pick up a touch. And we've got this more persistent rain spreading into western Scotland and Northern Ireland through the day as well. And that really marks the transition to something more changeable through next week. Someone asked a question about cleaning their car. And let's take a look at this, because many of you might have noticed more vivid sunsets and sunrises, poorer air quality, poorer visibilities, and perhaps some dustiness on your cars during the last day or so. And in places, that sort of thing may continue to some degree over the next few days, but perhaps not to the same extent. Let me explain what's going on. Here we've got a cross-section through the atmosphere, provided by one of our experts, Dan Holly, of course, and this shows A, over here in the sea, and B, just off the coast of Suffolk, and that corresponds to this graphic here, A over here on the left, and B, and we've got a slice of the atmosphere going up to 14 kilometres, and this effectively shows the dust concentration on Friday, well, about the time that we're recording this, lunchtime. So what you can see is very little dust over in this part of the atmosphere, blank area, but as you get into southern and more especially southeast England, quite a significant concentration of dust, especially between 2 and 4 kilometres. That's where these brighter colours are, showing the higher concentrations, but even down at lower levels, down towards the surface into London, into parts of Essex there, you've got these higher concentrations. Hence, the poorer air quality, the lower visibilities, and where we haven't got the cloud, you may have noticed a vivid sunrise this morning. The full moon as well has been affected last few nights. I think that it's perhaps tweaked the colours of that in the sky. So, yeah, some interesting things going on. Where has this dust come from? Well, let's take a look. This is 7 a.m. Friday this morning, 6th of March, and it shows this concentration of dust in the atmosphere. Optical aerosol depth is the technical name for this graphic, but essentially it shows this plume coming in from North Africa, extending across increasingly central parts of Europe, but also affecting many parts of England, East Wales, not quite into Scotland and Northern Ireland or western fringes of England and Wales. But yeah, you can see really quite, by the red colours there, really quite high levels of concentrated dust in the atmosphere all the way from the Sahara. Now, fast forwarding this forward, just to show how it changes over the next few days, this is 6 a.m. Saturday. Now, we're losing the reds and oranges. They're moving into the Low Countries, but still some dust evident across many parts of England and Wales. Again, Scotland and Northern Ireland not so much affected. That's not the end of it, though. As that pushes away, there are further pulses coming back in. And so by the time we get to 6 p.m. Saturday evening, still some reds into parts of East Anglia and the far southeast. And it's the same thing again on Sunday. So a small part of the UK, the far east of England especially, seeing that dust hang around, that Saharan dust. So again, the potential for some of those vivid sunsets and sunrises if we get gaps in the cloud. And unlikely to see much rain next couple of days in that area, but if there are spots of rain, potential for some dirty cars as a result. And of course, the poor air quality, poor visibilities. Monday, lower concentration, still small amounts across the southeast of the UK. Again, Scotland, Northern Ireland, not so much affected. But by the time we get to the middle of the week, that's all swept aside. Why is that? That tells us something about where our air is coming from by the time we get to the middle of next week. Now, this graphic here shows where our air is coming from today, Friday. All these various lines represent different levels of the atmosphere. The darker blues are where the air in London has come from. The air at the surface has come from in London, and then the higher up you go in the atmosphere, the brighter the colours. But most levels of the atmosphere, the air is coming from the south at the moment, sampling air from North Africa and Central Europe. Going forward, Saturday into Sunday, that air still tending to come more from the south. It does move around a fair bit. It recirculates over Central Europe, but effectively, even by the time we get to Tuesday, a lot of our air coming from the south. But look at the difference by the time we get to Wednesday. Big plume of air coming from the west and northwest at all levels of the atmosphere, and that marks a significant change in the forecast middle of next week. So at the moment, we've got the jet stream dipping south out to the west of the UK. There's a very static situation where we've often got high pressure sitting over the UK, not necessarily leading to lengthy, dry and sunny weather. We've got these fronts lingering, bringing some cloud and showery rain at times, but not especially unsettled either, and that's the same for Saturday into Sunday. But what's happening over North America at the moment are a series of storms that are, we go right back to Friday, this low pressure helping to invigorate the jet stream, and this stronger jet stream comes out of North America. You can see it coming out Sunday into Monday. It becomes flatter, becomes more strong, and it eventually pushes high pressure away. Tuesday starts to pick up these fronts, these areas of low pressure. By the time we get to Wednesday, these fronts are moving through, clearing the air. So an improvement in visibilities, improvement in air quality likely as we get these westerlies, these fresher westerlies arriving by the middle of next week. But the weather becoming much more mixed as a result. And one final thing to show is this graphic, which shows the most likely weather patterns for the next couple of weeks. The weather patterns are coloured up here on this graphic, and what you can see is an increase in these dark blue flavoured weather patterns, and that essentially are these westerly dominated weather patterns. So if I click on one of these, for example, next Thursday, the 12th of March, you can see what it looks like. I'm going to take off the temperatures compared with average and show you the rain compared with average. Zoom out a bit. This kind of weather pattern, which is very likely for the second half of next week, is where we get low pressure close to Iceland, breezy and showery or longer spells of rain coming in from the Atlantic, and the rain compared with average shows the wettest spots will be Western Scotland, Northwest England, West Wales. These spells of rain coming in, moving their way west to east, interspersed by drier, showery interludes, but back to much more mixed, much more changeable weather. Not quite as wet as some places saw for the start of this year, but pretty changeable nevertheless.
So to answer Tigress Elizabeth's question about Northern Ireland, is this the start of good weather? Well, you're going to have a pretty good weekend, I think, in Northern Ireland. It's going to be dry and sunny with chilly mornings and fine conditions in the afternoon. But as Aidan's just gone through there now, mobility in Northern Ireland is going to see, you know, some of the wettest weather as those weather systems come in from next week. So a short spell, a decent weekend though. So enjoy that. Eddie M. Shark says 16 Celsius yesterday, down to 8 Celsius today. We have seen a big drop, haven't we, across particularly northern England, the Midlands, parts of Wales. Much cloudier, much colder out there today. Julie Durkin, 9462. The fog in the southeast, is it here to stay for a few days? not sure it's that foggy. It's probably just a bit murky and a bit grey, low cloud. But actually,
and the fact that we've got the increased dust in the atmosphere, poorer visibilities as a result.
But I suspect southeast might actually brighten up a little bit later tomorrow through the weekend. It might cheer up a bit there, and there's going to be some of the highest temperatures across the southeast as well. So going to be grey mornings, I suspect. Gord 1EB says, does the sand affect aviation like volcanic dust, or are they very different with their damage profile? Not an expert on this, but I know that the volcanic dust particles were worried about those when in terms of flying. I think this is more about the visibility.
Yeah.
I don't think the particles are going to damage the planes as such. They certainly don't look to be that thick, and they're different sizes. So a different size of the particles makes a big difference to that. But it's more about the visibility. So obviously reducing visibility can affect aeroplanes in that sense. So it's not as big a deal, but it does need monitoring.
Also, it's worth bearing in mind the fact that although we don't get it often in this country, we have to have these winds from the south, many other parts of the world get it all the time, places where you get a lot of flights going through. So yeah, it's
in fact
reasonably unusual for the UK, but not so much on a global scale.
Puffin Nest is saying, I think the Saharan dust drifts into Europe every year, which it does, yeah. Does it happen at the same time? What causes it? And what happens in the Sahara? Well, at the moment it's a low pressure, isn't it? So that's a typical, so I guess it happens probably more frequently in the spring when you're more likely to get low pressures just down there and then kind of spinning things up. But it has to kind of be a semi-stationary, almost permanent area, a semi-stationary area of low pressure that generates it, and then it puts it into the atmosphere, and then you've got to have the southerly winds for it to come to the UK. But they obviously, in the summer months across the Sahara, it's mostly just high pressure and dry and sunny, so you don't get it. So you do probably get it more in the spring and perhaps in the autumn too. But really good questions coming in this week. Thank you for all of those. Someone was asking about Barcelona. Can we do a Barcelona forecast? Sean Barbaz. Any chance of looking at how the weather will be in Barcelona Sunday/Monday? Because it has been a bit wet, hasn't it, in Barcelona? Same low. I mean, the same low that's generating the Saharan dust. It's all kind of part of what was named Storm Regina, wasn't it, by the Portuguese?
Yeah,
but it's easing now.
It is easing, but it looks like there'll still be a lingering front there on Sunday. Quite showery. Looks a little bit better where you'll be in.
Doesn't look too bad in
Portugal.
In the Algarve, does it? Sunday, Monday.
So yeah, still some showers around by the looks of it Sunday, and then by the time we get to Monday, clearing away. So an improving picture for Barcelona,
but getting worse for the Algarve. So
yeah.
Although the ECMWF model is much better for the Algarve, just not that I've been looking.
There's that cut-off low that you mentioned.
Yeah, EC takes it further. Anyway, we digress. Fraser Elphick, where can I get soil temperature forecast? I live in Netherbridge Highlands and need 5+ season. I'm not sure about that. That is a good question. Keep your questions coming. If we can't answer them, we'll try and find out. We will try and find out an answer for that. Someone was asking about reservoir levels earlier as well. And again, that's something we must find out. We will try and search up for another edition of the Weather Studio Live. We're here every Friday. And every Friday, we do a quiz. Woo. So let's do it now. Yes, every Friday we do a quiz, and it's loosely based on a theme. And this week's theme is very loosely based on dust.
Right. This isn't going to do my...
I think it is. Some of them are easier than others, and you'll do okay. Annie suggested that we kind of focused in on dust particles and said, are they dust? And like I did a microscopic zoom. And I thought it was a good idea, but I couldn't quite make it work. But maybe
I could have brought my daughter's microscope in. That would have been fun.
Maybe for another week we'll do that. But yeah, I thought that was a good idea. But no, this is loosely based. We'll pop the questions in the chat. So whether if you're watching on YouTube, you should be able to click an answer on there, but you can also put your comments if you're watching on Facebook as well. Let us know how you did. It's all part of the fun. Aidan will be pinging me his answers on Teams. He's not Googling them. He's just sending me the answers via Teams. I think Annie and Alex do a kind of paper and old school. We like with a print
it out because you can't trust Alex.
Well, I didn't say that. But we'll keep because we're like the cool electronic. Yeah, digital guys, right? So we'll do it on Teams. Okay, loosely based on dust. Question 1. Name the storm that brought UK Saharan dust and Portuguese wildfire smoke to create atmospheric sunsets famously in 2017.
Already put my answer
You
in.
have, even before the options. I told you there's some easy ones.
Good.
A, Ophelia. B, Odette. C, Olga. D, Omar. Is it Ophelia, Odette, Olga, or Omar? Back in 2017, we had some beautiful sunsets, sunrises, atmospheric, created in part by Saharan dust, but also added on with some Portuguese wildfires. So was that Ophelia, Odette, Olga, or Omar?
I think our audience will mostly get this right as well.
I think you're right.
I reckon.
I think you're right. That was quite an easy one to start with. It does get a little trickier. So yeah, let us know. Keep your answers coming. Question 2 we will now move on to, though, because we just had question 1 and now we're moving on to question 2. That's how I like to roll. The WMO announced this. This isn't really dust related, I'll be honest, but it kind of follows on from the last one. The WMO announced this week that the storm name Melissa, Hurricane Melissa.
Oh, I know the answer to this one. I know what you're going with this.
Yeah, you can probably put the answer in already
this one,
as well.
for some reason, registered with me.
I thought it might.
Yeah.
So, they're retiring Melissa. Caused devastation across parts of Jamaica, a hurricane earlier this year. And every year they have a meeting to assess what names, because the WMO have the same repeating 6-year list. But if a storm is particularly damaging, they take it off the list and retire it. So there will be no more Hurricane Melissas going forward. So Melissa's name is being retired, but they had to replace it with something. Obviously, it's got to be a name beginning with M. And is that name? So what have they replaced Melissa with? Is it A, Mildred, B, Molly, C, Michaela, or D, Maggie? Mildred, Molly, Michaela, or Maggie?
For the record, I put my answer in before
you did
read
again.
out the options.
You did again. That is
Bonus
2.
point for that?
Don't think. Well, I mean,
I need all the help I can get.
I mean, I got when we last did it. You sat here, bonus point, right? And I got that bonus point.
Yeah, you did.
Hasn't that bonus
I don't
point,
make up the rules.
That bonus point hasn't made it to the. So yeah, you can have a bonus point if you want, but it's not going on there. So I mean, I'm happy to dish out bonus points willy nilly, but apparently bonus points don't go on there. Not that I'm bitter with George or anything. George does the scoreboard, by the way. Right, that's question 2. What are people saying? Most people are getting that right, are they?
No. Well, I say no. I mean, as far as I am aware, the most popular answer was Michaela, which isn't the answer I put.
Right, question 3. Dust from the Sahara, but which of these countries is not in the Sahara? No part of this country is in the Sahara Desert, the official Sahara Desert definition. Is it A, Algeria, B, Mauritania, C, Chad, or D, Ghana? Which of those countries does not have any bit of it in the Sahara Desert? A, Algeria, B, Mauritania, C, Chad, or D, Ghana? Pop your answer in now. If you're on Facebook, just let us know which letter or which country, and you can answer it in the text on YouTube as well. Or you can do the poll. What's the poll saying for this one?
Let's have a look. I've already put my answer in.
You have.
I went with Ghana. A few people saying Chad.
People, yeah. I mean, it'd be hard to pick out where Mauritania is on a map, to be honest. It's one of those ones that's quite tricky.
61% for Ghana.
Okay.
Well, that's reassured me, because I was like, ooh, I'm 90% sure it's Ghana, because I was looking at the weather in Ghana the other day.
How come? What for?
Because I was working with someone who was from Ghana, and I was asking her what the weather was doing at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, question 4.
It didn't sound like a desert.
No, well, yeah,
so that's all I'll say.
That's why you're going, okay. Question 4. Where does the Sahara rank in terms of its size as a global desert? First, second, third, or fourth? Is it the largest desert on the planet, the second largest, the third largest, or the fourth largest? So where does the Sahara rank in terms of size as a global desert?
Right, are we counting Antarctica as a desert?
First, second, third, or fourth?
That's tricky, because, you know, I would
Told you they're going to get trickier.
I would say Antarctica is the largest and Sahara is the second. Let's go with that.
I like
go
your
with
reasoning.
that.
I like your reasoning. Let us know again in the comments what you think. Where does Sahara rank in terms of size?
The
as a global
leaderboard. Now, if I've got
desert?
all those right, I'm
Oh, well, we're
I'm
having a
leapfrogging
live,
Annie.
we're having a live update, aren't we? We're all already confident it's over there. Okay, right.
If-
well, yeah.
if I get them right.
If ifs and ands were pots and pans, there'd be no need for tinkers, as my mum would say.
42% have gone with second. Thank you very much, agreeing with me. Well done.
Okay. Now, question 5. Gone a little bit away from meteorology now.
Oh.
Which of these is not an album by Dusty Springfield?
You know what? Anticipating this quiz and the fact that you went with that thumb, I thought I must do some homework on Dusty Springfield,
Oh, right,
but I
okay.
didn't have time.
Oh, that's a shame.
Go
That's
on.
a shame.
I'm not familiar with Dusty Springfield's work.
A little before your time, mate, Matt. Which of these is not an album title by Dusty Springfield? A, Dusty, definitely. That's not me saying definitely, that's part of the title.
That's Dusty,
Dusty,
definitely.
definitely.
Right, that doesn't sound like something you'd make up.
B, Dusty in Memphis. C, It Must Be Dusty. or D,
Right.
Everything's Coming Up Dusty. Everything's
Oh my
coming
goodness.
up dusty.
They
It
all
must be
sound-
dusty.
they all
Dusty
sound a
in
bit-
Memphis. I went through a discography. There was a lot of Dusty references. I mean, there's a lot of them. We could have had 7 answers. So is it A, Dusty? Definitely. Like definitely, maybe. Dusty, definitely. Dusty in Memphis. It must be Dusty. Everything's coming up dusty.
Okay, I reckon just based on what I think you would make up, it's going to be C or D. I think A sounds so weird, it's not something that you'd necessarily come up with. Dusty in Memphis sounds fairly plausible. It's going to be C or D, isn't it? What were they again?
It must be dusty. Or everything's coming up dusty.
Okay, it's got to be C that you've made up. It's got to be. I'm going to go with that educated guess.
Right, let us know. Let us know what are you going for in the chat. Vicky Lynch is asking for she's got a birthday weather update for the 9th. We'll do that in a second.
Vicky on the 9th?
Vicky,
Oh.
9th.
See, I told you everyone's birthday's in March.
Frankie Fugazi says the Beast from the East was in March. That is kind of true, but this will be kind of late March. I guess that I'll go the second bout from the actual Beast from the East. Which wasn't particularly snowy, but was quite cold. So yeah, kind of get your point, but it's not quite the same as that. Right, what did everyone else say? What's the poll saying?
51% went with It Must Be Dusty.
It must be dusty.
And then 26% everything's coming up with Dusty. So
13% went with Dusty in Memphis. Right, okay, we'll do some more questions. Let's get through the answers. You've done pretty well. You were confident. Yes, question 1. Everyone knew that, right? Storm Ophelia. It was an ex-hurricane. Dropped a lot of rain in the Republic of Ireland. I remember seeing some pictures of flooding there, but it also drew up that smoke from Portugal and the dust. And so, yeah, it was Storm Ophelia. So well done if you got that right. That was A. Question 2. WMO announced this week that there will be no more Hurricane Melissas. That has been canned as a name, retired, sorry, I should say. It has been replaced by Molly. You knew that.
I haven't told my daughter yet, actually.
Have you not? Oh,
No, I saw
should be
that. I saw it
excited.
late at night when she was in bed, and I forgot. But yeah, tell her that she's now going to be a hurricane.
And will be forevermore until there's a really bad one, because that's they stay on the list every 6 years. Which of these countries is not in the Sahara?
Yeah.
You were right again. 3 from 3 with Ghana. Because Ghana's
Much too far south and not quite as dry as the other 3 countries you mentioned.
Yes, indeed. Question 4. Where does the Sahara rank in terms of size as a global desert? Well,
I'm not sure with this one. If you're including Antarctica.
Well, I am including Antarctica, but I'm also including the Arctic, which is also allegedly dry.
Are you joking?
Yeah, so it's 3rd.
Hang on. Does it count if it's an ocean?
Well, that's the definition
I'm not
was
sure.
the Arctic and the Antarctic both
definition?
dry. It's on Wikipedia. Must be. So
Right.
So
Okay.
so yeah, I didn't say hot desert. If I'd said hot desert, then yes, it would have been first. But third is the answer.
Not sure if you can count an ocean. Never mind. Because
Wow.
there are, I'm sure, parts of the Pacific that are.
Drier.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, that was it. I'll check my source. Where was my source for that? I don't know. Maybe I'll check the source on
Mark Vaughan, Arctic shouldn't count. Yeah, I'm with you there,
Wow.
Mark.
Arctic counts going to Mr. Burkill. So, you know.
If this
there we go.
jeopardises my chances of
There we go.
overtaking Andy.
Question 5. Which of these is not an album by Dusty Springfield?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I went with It Must Be Dusty.
And you're right.
Yeah.
You were right.
I know, it's not so much that I know Dusty Springfield's albums, I know the way your mind works.
But that wasn't even, I didn't make that up. That was one of her TV series.
Right.
One of her TV series was called It Must Be Dusty. There was so many options to go through. But yeah, so that was C. So 4 out of 5 is pretty good work. Let us know how you did in the
Disputed
chat.
5 out of 5.
Yes. I thought the Gobi was the biggest. God, we're going to get into all kinds. I knew that was going to be a controversial question. Mikey 2022 got 5 out of 5. Near Distant Future 4 out of 5. Brian O'Rourke 1 out of 5. Oh, Brian. Never mind. Try harder next time. Kingsley Ditchburn says, Happy Friday, everyone.
Did anyone count the Arctic in their assessment of question 4?
Well, someone must have done because they got 5 out of 5.
I think a few people are saying they got that right, but for the wrong reason.
Oh, okay.
They were counting the Gobi.
Well,
Not
yes.
sure how the Gobi compares with the Sahara, but yeah,
Very dry.
I always thought, you know, with hot deserts, certainly the Sahara is the biggest.
Yeah.
The Atacama is long, but it's not as extensive in area.
Stephen Lunn, he's making it up as he goes along. How very day. How very day is Stephen.
I think we're going to need an inquiry into that question.
Yeah, we are, aren't we?
And then, next week we'll update you maybe on the scoreboard and
Right, keep your questions coming in. We'll take a few more before we end for the day. But yeah, keep your questions coming in. Do hit that like button, do hit the subscribe button as well, and then you'll never miss a forecast. You can catch us on Spotify as well. So we're also on there. All our longer form videos are on Spotify. So if you're on there, you probably want to hit subscribe, and then getting our numbers up on there. The more the merrier. Spread the love. If you're watching this on Facebook as well after the event, also share it. But if you are watching on YouTube, do hit that thumbs up button and do hit the subscribe button. And we want to get, maybe we can add 1,000 a week. We want to get up to 402,000 by this time.
I want to add more than 1,000 a week. I think we can do that.
Andrew Jones Maguire is asking about the merch. Yeah, ongoing. Puffin Nest says the Gobi Desert's the 6th.
Oh, okay.
And Jet Set John, the Arctic is considered a polar desert because it receives very low amounts of precipitation. Boom. Ka-ching, 4 out of 5. You have overtaken Annie, but not, you're still a couple below me.
That's the main thing.
Anyway, long way to go, long way to go. What are you up to?
12 months.
What are you up to next week?
Next week, well, it's my birthday. Did we mention that?
I'm not sure we have. No.
On the Tuesday.
Maybe we should get some merch for your birthday. I'll get you a present with Met Head.
So the deep dive will be all about that, of course, looking at past March the 10th. I very rarely have nice weather on my birthday, I would say that. The weather at the start of March is often horrible. And then I've got Wednesday off. I think my wife is taking me out somewhere to be determined. I don't know where. And then, otherwise I'm working.
You're working?
While you're in sunny or rainy Portugal, depending on the cut-off low.
One of the two. Yeah, I'm only there till Wednesday. I'll be back Thursday. It's only a short little sojourn. So, yeah.
Enjoy.
But anyway, yes, if you're watching this after the event, you can still send us in your questions and your comments. We do try and read them. So if you've got anything that you want to know about, we will try and answer them, be that in the deep dive, be that on the live, anything like that. So please keep your comments coming in, and as I said, spread the word and share the love. But I think that's pretty much it for us for today, so we'll wish you a very goodbye.
Bye-bye.